It's a very special show on the AZ Wildcats podcast today. We got a special guest, a mystery guest. We don't know. You don't know. Damon and I were trying to figure out all morning. All that and more on a very packed edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Leave a like, drink your water. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Damon Fairall. He is Kevin Thomas. And, of course, it's a beautiful Tuesday here in downtown Phoenix at PHNX HQ2. Kevin, we have a mystery guest on the horizon today. Just as you guys don't know who it was, Kevin and I didn't know who it was until we got the call in. But we are thrilled to be welcoming back in friend of the program, special guest, Reggie Geary, who, of course, spoke with us last year during I guess this year, but last Arizona basketball season, in the middle of the year about the Wildcats and just kind of the direction of, how the program was going. But feels great to have him back on and good to talk to him about the ending of the season and maybe a little bit more as well. How we doing, Reggie?
We're doing good, guys. I feel honored. I'm your special guest. I'm loving it. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. What's up, Wildcat Nation? Hope everybody out there is having a great summer.
Reggie, I believe that this puts you atop the number one on the rankings of guests at 2 appearances now through the Kevin and Damon era of this podcast. So you are now the king of guests of the AZ Wildcats podcast after this one.
Let's go, dude. I'm honored. I know you guys have a lot of great people on here. So for me to catch a second time, man, I feel special.
Absolutely. Talk to you a little bit about, the kind of just how the season was going more in the middle of the year and how things were picking up during, conference play, how this team was really starting to find its footing. What did you see at the end of the season, like just from your personal perspective, being more around the team? Obviously it leads ultimately to a loss to a really, really good Duke team. But, it felt like that this team was really starting to, kind of just find the mold of what a Big 12 team looks like throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I think last year, like a lot of years, it's a journey, it's a marathon, and Arizona got off to a little bit of a slow start, and really just in terms of just trying to find themselves and who they were as a unit, and a lot of these individual players and young players just trying to find out who they are as a player, and so that took time, and then I think Coach Lloyd, he kind of went back into the dark room there and said, man, how can we fix this? How can we make this better? And some of it, I think he made some adjustments on his end. There was also some adjustments the team made. I remember KJ Lewis. It was a big turning point in the season in my mind going at the time. He's saying, hey, I think I might be better suited coming off the bench right now. Give me an opportunity to kind of watch the game. That got Anthony Delorso, that got him back into a natural role as a starter where he now was getting those first minutes and it seemed like he felt better. So I think overall the team just matured as the season went on. They learned themselves better. And then by the end, we just saw a very confident unit, guys just knowing their purpose, knowing their responsibilities, and how Tommy wanted them to play.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned KJ Lewis there, and that was a guy that when we had talked previously, Reggie, that you mentioned you saw a little bit of yourself in just terms of the dynamic of, the kind of the guard rotation versus the guard rotation when you were playing for the Arizona Wildcats in that defensive stopper role. Obviously, KJ moves on to Georgetown, and we wish him all the best. But who do you see as kind of a player that can come in next year and kind of provide that defensive specialist role for this team?
Yeah, that's a great question. KJ was a person like all the players close to my heart. I really enjoyed how he played. Hate to see him leave and wishing him the best. But you need individuals like him, guys that don't necessarily need the basketball to be effective, to really have an impact on the game. I thought KJ did a great job of that last year. Going forward, who's that going to be? really going to be interesting to see. Obviously, with Braden Burrs coming in as a highly recruited guy, a high scoring individual, you think he's going to take that scoring load that might slide Jaden Bradley, kind of being the primary point guard, a guy who can get you double digits, but he might become that primary defender. It's really hard to say right now. Just having not seen him, who's going to take that wild card role, but I know someone's going to need to do that, and collectively, obviously, they're going to need to defend.
Yeah, and it feels like, not that last year's team or teams in past didn't have that, but it feels like next year's team really has an emphasis on size and length at every position. And I feel like defensively, that is definitely going to help Tommy Lloyd have more tools. I know how much he loves to switch and things like that. Do you think that schematically the defense is going to look at least similar to the kind of mentality that Tommy Lloyd's been trying to employ in years past? Or do you think that due to the tools he has in the toolbox, it's going to look different on defense next year?
I think I think Tommy definitely will be preaching. We still want to play the up tempo style. And for us to do that, we got to get into the ball. We got to create this tempo. We just can't sit back. And so I think there was a real. And I don't know if he would admit this. I think there was a learning lesson last year. You played Duke twice, once at home and an attorney. You saw that NBA length. You saw how disruptive that could be, in terms of protecting the paint and at the rim. And so he went out and got himself, Tommy went out and Jack Murphy, they went out and got some real length. And some people with Euro Cup experience. And so you have experience length. I think you can extend into the lanes, really get into people, but more importantly, you can protect that rim and really, put a big hand in defending that three ball.
And you played for, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, you also alluded to, the transition part of the defense, right? Getting out of the defense into the offense, right? This next year's team without Henry Vasar and with Mo Krivas at that center position, how do you think Big Mo at the 5 position is going to affect the ability of Tommy Lloyd to still run in transition? Do you think that Krivas has that in his game, or do you think it's going to have to look different from the transition standpoint?
Yeah, I think Tommy has great flexibility next year in terms of how he wants to play, big or small. Obviously, if Mo wants to be a part of this, and I'm sure the coaches will stress that, hey, if you want to be part of this offense, you need to get down the floor. That you need to transition from end to end and get into your drag games, your rim runs, but you're going to really have to kind of keep up as best you can. Nice thing about Mo Krivas is, he's going to be the biggest guy on the floor. And in actuality, Arizona will have the 2 biggest guys almost every single night with Awaka and himself. And so he gives you that ability to play on the block, kind of the anchor of the offense when you need some low post scoring. So that'll be nice to have. But he's going to have to get up and down. And so, going back to that flexibility, Tommy could play 2 bigs with Awaka at the 4 and Krivas at the 5. You could even see maybe Koa Pete playing as a 4 and playing a little bit of undersized, maybe even Koa Pete as a 5. So great flexibility for Tommy to figure things out as the season goes.
Yeah, Reggie, we talked about, you in your career, you kind of felt the highs of making like a Final Four and the lows of losing early in the tournament. This team, I think they got to about what the expectation was given their seeding, given that, the ranking that they had most of the season. And they lose to a team in Duke that was the highest net rating team in the country essentially all year long. Like no shame in losing to that Duke team. I feel like, obviously you guys had the aspirations of winning a national championship, but when you guys played in the Final Four against Arkansas, a team that was, ultimately ended up winning the national championship, like I'm sure that was a tough loss, but how do you take, a game where you end up playing a decent game, but maybe you just got bested by your opponent? How does that from a mental standpoint, like how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Anytime you lose, it's difficult, and sometimes losing when you competitively had a chance to win the ball game. I thought Arizona was really probably 3 or 4 minutes away. We just need a little bit more. We're about to turn that corner. A couple silly plays, silly fouls, and maybe a bounce here, a bounce there, and things could have been a little bit different. I think for the guys that are returning, knowing they got to that stage and they still left a little bit on the table, you would think would be something that would motivate them, be a little fire for them going forward. That what, we probably should have wanted more and could have done a little bit more, but we have enough pieces and some new pieces that we can maybe take that next step. So that's powerful. And I know that'll be a big thing that, it was good that we got there, but I still feel, and I hope they feel, we left a little bit on the table. There was some more there we could have grabbed.
Yeah, no, it certainly does feel like last year's team. They were moments, a couple mistakes away from truly exceeding their potential, right? And I think that when fans evaluate Tommy Lloyd's performance as a coach, when you look back years later, you look at mostly the results, and those of us that watched every game will remember the way that things went game in, game out. Tommy Lloyd's coaching Coa Pete right now at Team USA, and I think that when you look at the way last year ended and everything Tommy Lloyd has said about, it's about beating Houston, it's about matching Houston, it's about everyone in the Big 12 chasing Houston. He has this great opportunity to coach some of the most elite talent in the world at that age group, including Coa Pete. We know Coa Pete's going to be ready as a freshman. Do you think, in your opinion, that next year's Arizona Wildcats team stands a good or even a better chance at snatching the Big 12 from Houston next year?
Yeah, I mean, Houston is a big order. You got to give their program. Coach Sampson down there is one of the best in the business. He really has them culture-wise, just really kind of where you want them. That toughness, that tough-mindedness, that resilience that all coaches strive for, and that's kind of their trademark. And so for Tommy to kind of point that out as, hey, that's the beacon. That's what we need to get to night in, night out. That's a great goal to have because if you want to win the Big 12, it's great to have freshmen. It's great to have 5 stars at McDonald's, and everybody wants those, and we want those too. But it's another thing going in there and manning up and winning on the road and getting a Big 12 title. And if Arizona accepts that challenge, really rises to that, heeds Coach Lloyd's words, they have a chance to be a really, really good basketball team, but they got a lot of hard work till then.
Reggie, you are currently the director of development for, the basketball program, and you spend a ton of time in the coaching ranks, whether that be in the D League or the NBA. Like you've had internationally, you've had tons of experience coaching. What did you see from Tommy Lloyd this season, from moving from the Pac-12 to the Big 12? What differences did you notice?
The big thing, just watching Tommy, and as you mentioned, I played 9 years, I coached 14, 8 as a head coach. So I have that kind of experience sitting in the first chair and kind of could kind of put myself in his place. And, the great thing about Tommy is I thought he did a good job this year, especially through the tough stretches of holding people's feet to the fire, keeping people accountable without losing his team. Tommy's a player coach. He's someone who he enjoys being around the guys. He wants it to be a great atmosphere, a big time atmosphere, and he's successful in doing that. But it's difficult when things start treading the wrong way. You want to be that guy for the coach, but at the same time, you got to hold people accountable. And I thought he did that for the most part, and just realize how tough minded you have to be night in, night out in the Big 12 or playing one of these top non-conference schedules to survive a full season. And so he did a really, really good job of keeping guys intact. The numbers were spectacular as always. It's just now getting to that next step.
Yeah, and
can I real quick piggybacking off of that? Kevin obviously mentions the USA trials that Tommy Lloyd is coaching and that Coa Pete is at. But on top of that, there's a lot of players that Arizona might see next season that's out there at those trials. You have like a Chris Senek Jr., for example, who is going to be a starter for Houston next year, which, as Kevin mentioned, is, kind of that top dog that you're aiming for at Arizona to take that next step as a program in this conference. How helpful can it be for a Tommy Lloyd to be able to scout these players that he might be opponents in the future and getting a firsthand look at these guys?
Yeah, I think that's a huge advantage. It's on a couple different fronts. Being with Team USA and under 19 in the USA program is a huge honor. So to have a coach kind of with that as one of his calling cards is big. But the fact that he goes in there, gets an early look at Koa, can work with him, can see the competition, guys he's going to see next year. He's going to take some mental notes in terms of strength and weaknesses, 100%. And even on a longer or a bigger story is, these guys, unfortunately, they think about transfer portals and they move around. And now Tommy gets a chance to spend some time with them, show his personality, and say, hey, we got a players program over here at Arizona. Hopefully things work out for you. But if they don't, guess what? We might have a home for you. So it works on so many different levels for him to be in that position. Not only working with Koa, but also getting, as you guys mentioned, just kind of a peek at some of your opponents.
Tyrone Riley, come on down.
Come
right,
on,
Kevin.
Hey, I've been the driver of that bus this whole time. I'm all about it. Tyrone Riley the fourth, 2026-27 Arizona Wildcat. You heard it here first. But you mentioned like Tommy Lloyd's ability to keep the team on track through adversity last season, maybe adversity he didn't necessarily expect to have to get them through. He's loaded the non-conference yet again this upcoming year. How do you think that's going to obviously positively impact seeding if you perform well in those games? But from a team perspective, especially with so many more young freshman talents coming in, some international guys who haven't played in the Big 12 before, how do you think that mentally, Tommy Lloyd, like from your perspective as a coach, how would you juggle that with such a difficult, a high level elite non-conference schedule with guys who have not yet even touched college basketball yet?
Yeah, I mean, welcome to elite level basketball, right? It's kind of a baptism by fire here. Opening up with Florida, you look at the non-conference in UConn, and I believe Auburn's on there. And UCLA. I mean, um, these guys are going to have to be ready to go from day one. And when I say ready to go, not necessarily, obviously, we want to win every game, but they have to be ready to really be able to absorb and some of the lessons that are going to come with playing a schedule like this, and realize this is all for the bigger plan. And so I think Tommy will be stressing that. I think he'll be on them early, saying, "Hey, we can get embarrassed here. If we don't come to practice every single day and put the work in, if you guys don't put the pre and post work in, there's opportunities we can get really embarrassed here." And I think that's something that drove me as an individual player. Just that, man, I could get embarrassed today if I don't really go out and play my hardest with my with focus locked in, being physical. That was a daily thing for me. That's got to be a daily thing for them. And I think he'll hold to the feet to the fire, kind of with that message, like, hey, this is coming down the road, and guess what? Once we're done with this, we got the Big 12 right after this, right after that. And so it really will prepare you. It really will prepare you. It really will test the coaching staff and their ability to keep these guys together, because young guys, once they start struggling, they're going to start making excuses. Hey, this isn't me, this is them, or it's somebody else. He really has to hold them accountable and show them film and get in their ear in a positive way, saying, we got to do this together, and you got to do it more importantly on the floor.
Yeah, Lute Olson obviously was a notoriously difficult non-conference scheduler, right? And I'm sure you experienced that in your 4 years at Arizona. Arizona somewhat goes away from that just because the nature of college basketball, but Tommy Lloyd brings that back, right? Where Arizona is now scheduling gauntlets of non-conference schedules. Have there been internal discussions from Tommy and co about just the goal of doing that? Like, what is the end goal of scheduling these very, very difficult games?
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't been privy to any coach conversations, but just the overall theme being, this is Arizona basketball. You come here to play on a big stage. All right, you come to play in these premier games. That's what I experienced with Coach Olson. As you mentioned, my first game was against Arkansas. Scotty Thurman, Corey Beck, all those guys who were national champions 1 year later. We always played that schedule. I came out of modern day high school, so I always had that target on my back. So coming here, that was a natural thing for me. So it actually worked out well. But if you're not used to that night in, night out, that's a learning experience. But I think just, hey, all you guys want to play at the next level, whatever that means, whether it's in an NBA or overseas. And the best way to have that happen is to play against elite level talent on big stages. And I think that's what Tommy presents to them.
And then to piggyback off of what Damon just asked you, I know that obviously it says a lot about Tommy Lloyd as a coach than the way he schedules his non-conference out and the way he thinks about testing his team early so he knows that they're either tournament ready as a roster or not. But does it also, from a head coach's perspective, does the way you schedule your non-conference in any way indicate the confidence level you have in your roster? I would assume Tommy Lloyd wouldn't set himself up to go 0-6 in an incredibly difficult non-conference if he didn't think he had the dogs or the horses to go run that race, right? So does the way that Tommy Lloyd's putting this gauntlet out in front of them for the winter, should that tell us, the fans, that this Arizona basketball team has the horses to beat all those teams if they execute their schedule or execute their game plan correctly?
No, I think so. I think it shows that, and if you know Tommy and around him, he's a confident individual. He knows he can get to the recruiting trail and really pull top notch talent and a top class like he did this year. So knowing that, I think he just believes. I know what I can do. I know what this school brings in. I know kind of players. All comers, let's go. You know what I mean? And I think he understands that. There'll be other coaches that might be not as confident, or it might be a contract year. There's a lot of variables that go into it where you might put 10 cream puffs there in the beginning because you're not sure of your team. It's a little bit of fool's gold. Maybe I could be 8-2 going into conference play, but I'll get my 20 wins. So coaches do that math. But when we're talking about Arizona basketball, I think it's all comers. That, hey, we got the horses. Let's play on big stages. Tommy likes that atmosphere, and he wants players that want to do that as well.
Yeah, we'll get you out of here. Last couple questions here, Coach. And I just wanted to know, for the people at home, like what what does the director of development, what does that day-to-day entail? What is your general day-to-day as in that role look like?
Yeah, like what kind of meetings are we keeping you from right now?
No, I mean, just for all accuracy, I'm a senior director of development in the Wildcat Club, and so we're basically the fundraising arm of the athletic department. So our job is to go out there and to meet with the letter winners, meet with season ticket holders, meet with donors, and just really educate them, explain to them, really show them kind of what is our motivation here in Arizona in terms of how we support our student athletes and their mission in becoming world champions, not only on the court or on the field, but in the classroom as well. And being I was a student athlete at Arizona, and I was able to partake in these resources, and it benefited me where I was able to go into the NBA. Now I get to be in this role now and kind of meet with people and say, hey, man, you're really making an impact with people's lives, really with our community. You know, Arizona is the second biggest employer in Southern Arizona. We got 15,000 employees here, and athletics is the front porch. It's the thing that really represents Arizona to the country and world. And so when you're supporting athletics, you're supporting all of these endeavors. And so that's what I try to teach people. That's what I try to talk to them about. And luckily, man, we're blessed. We have so many kind people, so many generous people at Arizona that really want to support the cause. And we just want to hopefully they continue to do that as we get into this next phase of rev share and kind of some of the things that come along with that.
How can Arizona fans get involved?
Yeah, great question. You know, I would definitely advise everybody go to wildcatclub.org, go to our website. You can get a lot of information on there. There's a donation page. You can go to arizonaathletics.com, contact me directly if you would like at rgeary@arizona.edu. I'll ask any of your questions. I love meeting new people, hearing about Wildcat stories. So, you know, just being generous with your money, with your time, and if anything, buy some season tickets. If you can't donate, buy some season tickets, come out and support our football team, our basketball team as we get this thing going.
Yeah, and last question here. A couple Wildcats in the NBA Finals. Obviously, Game 5 last night. Pretty pivotal game for the Thunder to go up 3-2 in this series. But Mathurin and McConnell have looked great in this Finals in spurts. In particular, you know, TJ McConnell has that massive third quarter last night. What have you seen overall from this Finals, and what have you seen from a couple former Arizona Wildcats?
Yeah, it's been a great finals. Very, very competitive. You know, I thought, you know, both teams are probably looking back and probably thought they gave one away. You know, I think was it OKC maybe gave away game one. I think the Pacers probably think they gave away game 4, and then last night kind of played out the way it was supposed to play out. So 3-2 is kind of where we're supposed to be in my mind. So it's been a competitive series. Indiana's represented themselves really, really well, but OKC I think is the class of the finals right now. But to go back to Mathurin and to McConnell, man, they have represented and showed out well. You know, game 3, Mathurin put on an historic performance. He's cooled off a little bit, but he's really shown the potential that we all thought he had. We all thought he was kind of a borderline, he's to my mind, all-star, you know, throughout his career going forward. And I think he's still trending in that direction. I thought game 3 was a great indicator of that. TJ McConnell's been spectacular. He's been everywhere. He's been the Energizer Bunny for them. Really got them going. I think there's an argument, and Rick Carlisle's a fantastic coach, but I thought, like, you know, not playing him until I think he sat him almost 12 minutes last night from the end of the third always to the end of the fourth when he was rolling. And it was actually playing better than Nemhard at that time. And so, you know, really guys, they've conducted themselves well. And we're just rooting for him, man. We're just rooting, super proud of him.
Absolutely. He is the top dog guest in AZ Wildcats show history. Top cat, I guess I should say. But appreciate you, Reggie. We're going to have you on again sometime soon to keep adding to your tally. Keep that number 1 spot.
Keep me number 1, guys. Kev, damn, I love doing this. You guys are great, man. We're talking to Wildcats, but anytime you guys can have me on, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Reggie. And yeah, make sure you guys are supporting the Wildcat Club and doing all of the above. That was Arizona legend Reggie Geary. We thank him so much for his time today. Really great interview, just kind of discussing the end of Arizona basketball season in 2025 here, and then as well as just kind of the gear up for next season, right? And we'll have to have him on again right prior to the start of next season, Kevin.
Yeah, no, that was a really fun one. I'm glad that whether it was Saul or whether it was Leah that ended up getting that one through the finish line there. I'm just happy it happened because that was a fun one, and Reggie had a ton of insight into I thought the non-conference schedule conversation was specifically interesting. mostly because, I hadn't really thought about it until I asked him the question about how confident Tommy Lloyd must feel in his team in order to schedule UConn, UCLA, Auburn. The list goes on and on, right?
And I think that you can convince yourself that even if it doesn't work out in that regard, like it did last season, for example, it did help this team grow, and it helped this team become a competitive team because they realized that, their level to which that they were playing early in the season was not it compared to the top teams in the country. They realized that quickly, and they made some changes in order to, kind of compete at that top level. And even though they did lose to Houston twice and they were both winnable games, like I think that, this is a team that, probably loses in a little bit worse fashion if those games happen in the beginning of the season rather than in the middle towards the end.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I also like when you look at like we spoke to the adversity that it caused, the non-conference start last year, the adversity in the locker room that it caused. We spoke about it, I believe, on the Duke post-game show, and credit to Tommy Lloyd for keeping the team on track. I know it was very concerning early in the season for him to come out and say that he had to, try to make sure the guys didn't lose their focus in the midst of all the losing in the non-conference. So, yeah, very, very happy for us being able to get Reggie Geary on the pod to get some of his insight into that stuff today, especially.
Yeah, how are we feeling about Spirit Week right now? We're 2 days in now. We got the we got the shirts yesterday. We got our mystery guest. What is tomorrow again?
Tomorrow's musical chairs. I believe.
That's right. That is so right. And we were having internal discussions to get an agitator potentially on this fine program. So we will see if the people respond kindly to that one tomorrow, but we'll find that one out. But great interview from Reggie, and we'll talk more about Arizona basketball recruiting going on, as well as did Arizona football find its next quarterback for the future? All that and more right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Kevin, I want to talk about our friends at Circle K for a second. Circle K, the inner circle. If you're not signed up, you hate money. Let's call it like it is. You hate free money. You like leaving money on the table because it's this simple. You sign up, you download the app, takes 2 minutes to sign up. You put in an email, a password, bing, bam, boom, you're done. What do? You save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups at the tank. After that, you save 3 cents off per gallon every time you fill up just by inserting that phone number real quick at the pump. And then you become a premium member like me or like Kevin, and you save 5 cents off per gallon every time that you fill up at the gas tank. It is an unbelievable deal, and it is so simple to sign up. It's free. It makes no sense if you're not signed up on it, especially in the state of Arizona, right? Because there's just Circle K's all over the place. Like, just do it, man. It's so simple. Even if like that's not your go-to necessarily, like it just doesn't make any sense to not sign up for the Inner Circle. Do it right now. Download that app. They got all kinds of great drink deals. They are America's thirst stop for a reason. Meal deals as well. Inner Circle has it all. So join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
Like we all know here in the office that my wallet was stolen a couple weeks ago, and I was upset about a lot of the content in that wallet being gone. But I'm not gonna lie to you, the biggest inconvenience, and I'm not
Oh man,
I'm kind of joking. I'm kind of saying it in jest, but it's really true. Like I'm mad that my gas card was stolen from me.
I keep asking Max for a new gas card because
exactly
I too
we
lost
can't get
mine.
a new one. But yeah, no, we're gonna have to handle that.
We're gonna have to like ski mask up and go in there to get one from Max because he's hoarding these guys.
Yeah, no, just stealing the savings from us. But you can steal savings from our friends over at Branded Bills. Now, check out Branded Bills because they have hats like this. They have some of the most stylish hats in all of the game. Look at that little crest right there. That BB right there is so beautiful. They have Arizona stuff. They have PHNX stuff as well. They got your truckers, your fitteds, your tees, your hats, your caps, all the stuff you can need at Branded Bills. You see that nice little Diamondback giveaway? Yeah, they work with the Diamondbacks too at times. They had like a little golf giveaway there. Beautiful, comfortable, stylish hats. The only way to elevate your brand is with Branded Bills. So head to brandedbills.com. Use code BBPHNX for 15. That's 5% increase off your order right there with our friends over at Branded Bills. Again, that's code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order.
Kevin, we've already been talking about it. Our guy Saul Bookman is boots on the ground in Colorado Springs right now at the U19 USA trials that Tommy Lloyd is coaching, that Koa Pete is showing out at, as he was named MVP of the day on his first day out there at the trials. And that we mentioned, there's guys like Tyrone Riley who potentially, Arizona has recruited / may recruit in the future. Who knows? I emoji. But also, you have guys like Chris Sennick Jr. that you'll be playing up against, big time matchups next season. So we got Saul Bookman out there. He's scouting for us, doing some work, doing the Lord's work.
The Lord. Wait, what was it? Tommy Lord's work. I don't know. I tried it, failed it, flopped it, but it's okay.
Well, Saul, you sat down with Saul just to get his thoughts on what he's seeing out there. So let's hear from Saul Bookman.
Saul Bookman, you are boots on the ground, as Damon likes to say, in Colorado Springs for the Team USA U19 trials. First of all, how are you doing? I feel like it's been a while since you and I have been on this show. And then second of all, how's the weather in Colorado? Because it's ungodly hot here in Arizona.
Well, we had golf ball size hail today. So that was fun, especially when you rent a car. Hopefully my insurance covers that. And it's raining. It came down pretty hard. It looks like it just stopped now. Of course, it just stopped because I just literally took a tour outside because why not in the rain? But I'm not going to complain because, as you said, it's like 100 degrees in Arizona right now. It's a nice, cool 65 here in Colorado Springs right now. So I will take it.
Yeah, and the vibes are, obviously good weather-wise outside of the hail, but that backdrop is beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about the facilities at the Team USA Colorado Springs tryouts? Like, what kind of gym we got? What kind of amenities do the players and coaches got down there?
Yeah, for sure. So this is a 3-court setup, just a big gym. It's on the second floor here in Colorado Springs. Your kind of standard kind of gymnasium. There's a training facility, a physical therapy facility right here too. Next door is where the women will practice as well. And then there's a whole literally like a physical therapy like headquarters. So athletes from all over, and not only do Americans train here, but also athletes from all over the world. So I know there are Ukrainian wrestlers here right now. Some Croatian wrestlers are here right now. The U.S. swim team, women's swim team, is here right now. And so there's a lot of athletes from a lot of different sports here. It's genuinely just amazing. The Paralympians are here as well. Some of them are training, and the equipment that they use, some of them is modified based on their disability. And I just came back from the kitchen, and the kitchen, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like it. You walk in, they literally have hydroponic lettuce that is growing, ready to go. Nothing is frozen. Everything is fresh, made from scratch every single day. And there's a whole like vendor system where you walk in and you just put your plate underneath the type of lettuce you want. And it automatically dispenses the proper amount of lettuce based on who you are as an individual. And you just move down. It's just the most wild state-of-the-art thing you could ever see. I was talking to the director of the facility. He was talking about how they do it not only here, but they also for Paris, they basically have to uplift and go over there and set up the whole shop over there so that way they can feed these athletes appropriately. So it's quite the operation here for listen, that's why the US is typically the best in most sports, because they get the very best of everything.
That is truly crazy. The lettuce dispenser is something I need to Google or look up on Amazon as soon as humanly possible to get one of those in my apartment, even though I don't really need one. But it seems like, it's not just top performance in the kitchen, right? It's also top performance on the court out there as well.
I did take pictures. I did take pictures. And so I'll post them to my Twitter so you guys can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll make sure to follow Saul as Saul_Bookman, because he's got all the video, photo content you're going to need for these Team USA trials. But I was reading articles about the Team USA trials, and what really stood out to me was the high competitive vibe, for lack of a better word there. The energy in that gym is being reported as extremely high-level competitors in there. Can you talk a little bit about the vibes of practice and just the overall, the feel of these, you got some of the best talent in the world competing against each other for an exclusive set of 12 spots?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think for the most part, yesterday was a little subdued because there was a lot of teaching going on, trying to make sure that the sets are put in because they had dwindled down from 31 to 18 at that point. And so at that point, it was like, okay, let's get some of our basics down. So a lot of teaching, a lot of standing around yesterday. But today it was a little bit more action, a lot more 5-on-5, a lot more physical activity. AJ DeBonta actually took an elbow to the nose and had to come out for a bit, but he was fine, nothing broken or anything like that. He's good. And listen, it is very competitive, and it was kind of really cool to see, and it's really cool to see. Listen, depending on whether or not they come out to Arizona in an EYBL or a setting or a Section 7, like you don't get to see some of these athletes that are coming out, and so to kind of get a little bit more familiar with them before they hit that next level. Some of them have already played a year of college, some of them are going into college, and some of them still have a year of high school left. So it's really quite interesting to see how competitive it is. And I'll tell you this right now. You wouldn't know if a kid was going into his senior year of high school, his freshman year of college, or has already played a year. I feel like the competitiveness all over the place is really well balanced, and it's been really cool to see.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to get into Koa Pete and AJ DeBonsa very shortly because those are the two biggest names attending right now. But who are some other people standing out to you? I know Tyrone Riley the fourth, another Arizona target from the transfer portal this past cycle, is there. Who are some of the other names that stood out to you in your short time there so far?
Yeah, so I know this guy's not on Tommy's radar, but man, I wish he would be because Jason Crow, 6'2" guard out of Inglewood, lefty, man, can he stroke it, man. He can shoot that rock. He's a very good playmaker, scorer. He just looks like he knows what he wants to do every single time he touches the ball. He has yet to commit anywhere. And it's just been really cool to see him play. Today, let me see. I want to make sure I get this right. Nick Kaminia. He's a Duke commit. First time I've ever got a chance to see him in person. I was really impressed by him. He was just solid all day today. Made some really good passes, kind of some no-look passes, could score, defensively was solid. And then finally, I got Caleb Holt. Caleb Holt today, I felt like I saw him yesterday and I was impressed because for a bigger kid, he could shoot the ball. Today, more of the same, physical, 6'4", kind of thick, and kind of like that Raleigh Alkins kind of type. Except Raleigh, I think, was a little bit more lengthier. But this kid was solid as rock. He's from Georgia, also has yet to commit anywhere. So I mean, those are three of the guys that I looked at today, and I was just very impressed by.
Yeah, and you're talking a lot about the build of these players, Saul, and I posted a tweet the other day about the physicality of Koa Pete. They had that video of the entire roster, and Koa Pete just stood out like a sore thumb. There were other players that also stood out in that equation, right? But it was Koa Pete that looked huge amongst his peers there. Can you kind of speak to the level? I know it's just scrimmages and most of it was walkthroughs the past couple of days, but just the level of physicality of some of these players that are attending the Team USA trials?
Yeah, there's a blend here in terms of the physicality. Some of them, you could tell that they're still in high school and they don't really understand the amount of physicality needed to play at a higher level. When you go, U15, 16, 17, 18, whatever, it grows as you get older. But like that's why Grant McCaslin, the head coach for Texas Tech, he's on the staff as well, and he's been preaching physicality. Like every single time an offensive player is about to move, he's got to feel you. Nobody gets to move freely around the court without getting some type of physical punishment. Like that's being taught every single day. Koa's naturally got it. He's not afraid of it. Even defensively, technique wise, right? When they close out and a guy makes a move, immediately putting your hands up, but putting your chest on the body to make sure that you can feel that player move and stay in front of them as best you can, instead of using your arm as leverage, because typically if that arm comes down, you're going to get called for a foul. And they did have referees out here today. So a lot of teaching going on. It was really cool to see. This is the part of the game that I love. I love watching the behind the scenes stuff. I love watching coaches coach. I could give a about a game. Sorry, you can bleep that out. I could care less about a game, in terms of, the things that are going on and who's missing shots and whatever. but it's the nuances of the game, the scheme, the fundamentals, and defensively, the physicality has definitely stood out. And I think that's the reason why AJ DeBonta and Koa Pete are they're separate in this class, in my opinion, because not only are they physical and they're athletic, but they can control their physical and their physicality and their athleticism. Not everybody can. Some guys play too fast for themselves. Some guys get too aggressive. Some guys don't have that balance. But those two guys, that's why they're elite, two of the most elite players in the country. It's because they can control their physicality and their athleticism to a degree that separates them from everybody else.
Well, let's talk about those two right now because they are the talk of the town, the talk of the Big 12 for certain. Let's start with Koa Pete. This is an Arizona podcast. Let's start there. What are you most impressed with Koa Pete? What have you picked up on from seeing him again in person? Because he's honestly, me and Damon have been talking about it on the show. He's honestly becoming a little underrated. Not a lot. Like, he's not super underrated. Obviously, he's one of the top players in the country. But it feels like his skill set is being a little bit devalued in comparison to some of the other players that are also there.
I don't think so. Not here. At least not here from my interpretation. I could tell that he's one of the leaders on the team.
Also, for the record, slept on is, I think, the more word we were saying. Because there was an article on 3 yesterday that said, before this, he was kind of seen as an undersized forward that made up for his lack of athleticism with skill and IQ. And Damon and I were saying, like, you haven't seen Koa Pete then. So I think, like, more so what we're saying is, like, is he starting to put people that were sleeping on him? Is he starting to make more people aware of what he can fully do on the basketball court? I think that's a better way of wording what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I think it's basically kind of what I said earlier. Some of these guys are out on the East Coast, and you never get a chance to see them in person. You see them, their highlight tape, but you think and you assume, and then you see them in person, you're like, wow, I had that completely wrong, or I was spot on, right? And I think that's the case with Koa Pete. Not a lot of people go out to Arizona to watch him play. He's played all over the country, but, listen, some of these guys that are writing these articles have never seen them in person, so they're a little bit surprised when they see a 6'8", 230-pound kid coming out of high school move and be as athletic as he is. Koa Pete can guard anybody on the court, straight up. Can he guard anybody on the court? He's so cerebral. He is such a good feel for the game. He's starting to feel like a coach on the court where he's controlling things out there. I've seen a lot of times where he will start out the offense at the top of the key, similar to what he did at Perry. So like there's a lot of crossover between what he's done with Coach Dwayne Jr., Sammy Dwayne Jr. over at Perry to what he's doing now. It's just kind of seamlessly transitioning into this. And listen, he is one of the team leaders by far. It's not even a question mark. And it's really good to see. I'm telling you folks, like, assuming everything goes well, Koa Pete is going to make an impression on every single person. You cannot look at Koa Pete and feel like, oh man, I don't like this or I don't like this. There's nothing to not like. He's about as perfect a specimen in terms of mentality and physicality that you could possibly want on your basketball team. And so I was pumped to be able to see him play against some of the best athletes in the world, let alone this country, obviously. And I think the cerebral factor is the thing that separates him from everybody else. And that's what I talked to Sammy Dwayne Jr. a couple of weeks ago, and that was the one thing he said. He's coached Marvin Bagley, he's coached Jalen Williams, he's coached all these elite athletes that have played at like Corona and Perry, but Koa Pete is a step above everybody else.
Yeah, and obviously I think his mentality is what's going to carry him to the highest level of college basketball, certainly, because when you talk about his performance at Perry, what stood out to me what jumps out to you when you're watching Koa Pete in person is exactly that, how cerebral he is, how he takes his coach's instruction and communicates it in live time to his team in a half-court offensive setting. I thought that was truly impressive for a player of his size and stature. I know you all often see elite players in high school playing in that ISO, kind of dictating the offense, but they're not really running an offense. They're just running ISO, and if someone else gets open, they get open. But Koa Pete is running an offense. And before we talk about AJ DeBanza, you kind of segued me into another question I'm really interested in asking you, Saul. You said Koa Pete's kind of becoming a coach on the court. Well, he has some of the best coaches on the sideline that you could ask for. What are the coaching dynamics here like in Colorado Springs? And can you kind of talk to the dynamics between Tommy Lloyd, Grant McCaslin, and Micah Shrewsbury?
Yeah, Shrewsbury's been kind of quiet. I think Shrewsbury's kind of like the player whisperer. For what I can tell, he hasn't really gone out on the court and like been demonstrative and coached loud. But I have seen him pull players to the side, coach him up, talk to him, like, hey, you want to look for this, those kind of small things. And listen, he is highly regarded around here, one of the best coaches in the country, and those guys are excited to have him on the staff. Grant McCasland has been mostly the defensive kind of guy. When there's defensive points to be made, he will get out there and he will coach him up. And man, I'm telling you what, and I have a clip of Tommy earlier today too that I'll post. And Tommy's coaching the offense, so they've kind of got their own little lanes. But every day, I talked to Tommy about this yesterday. Every day, they get together, they talk about the things they want to try and achieve on the court, talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses and how they can shore them up, and make sure that they're all on the same page, so that way that nobody's stepping on each other's toes. And there's going to be times where maybe your philosophy doesn't line up with his philosophy, right? But they've been coaching together for so long that hasn't really been an issue at all. It's been pretty painless, and it's just, I love watching those guys coach. Tommy is like Tommy gets a lot of flack sometimes because Arizona hasn't made the Final Four and blah blah blah, but it's not for a lack of knowledge or effort. Like, he's out here coaching his butt off, and so is Grant McCasland, and so is Shrews. So it's been really cool. I'll tell you what, I told Grant McCasland this too yesterday. I was just like, I love watching Grant McCasland coach on the sideline, because as opposed to there's a big difference between Grant McCasland and like Bobby Hurley, right? Grant McCasland will be demonstrative, but he's also coaching them up. And I never feel like Grant McCasland is being demonstrative to the point where he's trying to take away from the team. Whereas with like Bobby Hurley, sometimes I think his demonstrative nature can sometimes distract from what's going on in the game. And I think that's the biggest separator between the two. I don't know why lights are flashing right now. I hope there's not an alarm going off that I don't hear and there's a tornado warning or something like that. But yeah, so.
I appreciate
this
you
is
for going
wild.
out there, Saul. Get out of there before the whole place burns down. Follow Saul at Saul_Bookman, because he has all your coverage of the USA trials, and he has video of Tommy Lloyd, AJ Vance, Pete, all that good stuff. And maybe he even got the second to talk to some of the coaches and players, but we'll leave that maybe for a tease for later. So I appreciate you, Saul. And is there anything else you want to say before we get on out of here?
Pray for me. Hopefully I'm okay. Appreciate the sign, guys. Also, AJ Devanza, fantastic. Great player. I put a highlight out there on Twitter. You should check it out. It was ridiculous. Appreciate it, Kevin.
Saul Bookman, of course, if you want more updates on lettuce, follow my guy Saul Bookman at Saul_Bookman, giving you the top lettuce updates in the country. We'll recap that interview and go a little bit more into Arizona's basketball and football recruiting here right after the break on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But Kevin, let's talk about Empire today. You guys hear me talk about Empire today, especially when we're in this studio, right? Because I got to get my feet on the wood. And, Empire today flooring, hardwood, nothing beats it, right? Empire today, the absolute best product for the lowest price point possible in the business. Here's why they're the experts in flooring. They show up in your house. They give you a free in-home estimate. They take a picture of the room that you want that new flooring in with their virtual floor designer, and they show you exactly what that massive purchase is going to look like before you make said massive purchase, because that, a lot of times people regret big purchases like this, Kevin. Like, you get some carpet, you're like, oh, that looks really nice at the big box store I went and bought it at. Then, I got my own installer. They installed it. Looks like crap. I don't like the way it looks with the walls in the room. No. All of that is null and void when you use our friends Empire today. They are the flooring experts for a reason, and this is what they love. This is what they do. This is not one of the things that they do. They are the experts in flooring. So make sure you guys head on over to empiretoday.com. We got a promo code for you where you can save $350 off your first purchase. And it is going to be, that is massive savings, guys. $350. The things that I could do with $350, Kevin, would be unbelievable. But Empire Today makes it nice and easy for you guys. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHNX. Yes, guys, you heard that right. $350 discount with promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/PHNX for full details.
Maybe a part of your $350 that you just saved with Empire Today could be spent at Wendy's, because I know
How
Wendy's.
How many Frosties could you buy with $350?
To pull back the curtain, entered Wendy's with a $100 gift card, and it'll get you quite far in the Frosty category. I'll tell you that much. But
a Wendy's $100 gift card can feed you for a month, brother.
No, it really could, because Wendy's not only does it have great deals on food, it also has all your favorite iconic Frosty flavors like vanilla, chocolate, but they've also done a nice little refresh on all those flavors recently. So whether you're, craving a brownie, caramel vibes, Wendy's has the flavor for you. Even if it's midnight or later, make sure to head over to Wendy's because whatever flavor you're craving, odds are they got a Frosty for it. Clock in for sweet treat time anytime, including midnight or later, with Wendy's all new Frosty flavors from the Frosty shop. A refresh on a classic? Gotta be Wendy's. At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location, and damn, those Frosties are good.
They are so good. We can't wait for our next Frosty Cold takes. Our guy Kevin has a nice Frosty take for us, but I feel like I've been kind of getting off a little bit scot-free in regards to especially Arizona stuff.
You really have.
I was the target of our D-backs one from last week because I said Jordan Lawler needs to be on this team, and then Jordan Lawler went 0 for 19 when he got called up and got subsequently sent back down, Kevin.
Rip.
But, you know what? I'll wear that one. Hey, hand up. Bad take. I need to find some Arizona bad takes that I have put out in the past, though, because I feel like Kevin, Saul, they're taking a little bit of the bullets for this squad right now. Verbal meme, the soldier with his arms out
with the arrows,
just getting arrows in the back as
Sweet baby Damon sleeps in the bed.
Sleep comfortably in my bed. But yeah, we're gonna have to come up with something for our next Frosty take Thursday here. But Kevin, I guess what was the big standout for you from that interview with Saul Bookman, other than the lettuce, of course? Obviously, lettuce, number one.
Yeah, we need more lettuce dispenser content. We've already actually, again, pulling back the curtain, I've already sent Saul the text requesting the exclusive lettuce dispenser content. So hopefully it's real, and hopefully we get it real soon. But outside of lettuce-related, food-related things,
that could change our lives, Kevin.
I told him in the interview, like, I need the Amazon link expeditiously.
Oh, I'm talking about the content of the lettuce dispenser.
Well, that too, but I'm saying I just need one in my life.
Yeah.
Breaking news, it's in the Wildcats Slack right now.
We have breaking news. We have the
I'll be getting on this. I'll be getting this on
Kevin,
the show for all you guys.
It's time to go get it for the people.
Yeah. What's your biggest takeaway while I get this lettuce content in for our show?
Yeah. I mean, I think, just overall, I guess, Koa Pete and just kind of the showing out that he's had out there, it feels as though Koa Pete is we talked about it yesterday, that he's been, somewhat underrated by the masses, the experts, if you will. Just, kind of regarding his overall talent level. Like, I feel like Koa Pete is clearly far and away one of the, 5 most impactful players in this class going into next season. And yet, due to a hand injury that he played through, he somewhat got dropped because of it. And I'm excited for Koa Pete to continue to surprise people and, make people, national media people, be like, no one knew Koa Pete had this level of athleticism, when it's like, didn't we though? But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that side of things. Just to get to watch Koa Pete in Arizona Wildcats uniform will be special, Kevin. But it's fun to see Koa Pete go out there and kind of just, make more of a name for himself nationally.
It is, and I do want to talk more Koa Pete, but we got breaking lettuce news, and I can't keep the people at home waiting any longer than they need to be waiting. So we do have the content from Saul Bookman, and this is what it's looking like, Damon. So it looks like we have a salad bar, as you can see at the top of the screen there, chicken breast, shredded green kale, carrots, and it seems like you can put your dish under each of these dispensers. Get your type of lettuce, your carrots, your tomatoes, cucumbers. It looks like edamame. Man, I mean, I can't really put that in a home setting. I don't got the space like that. But
now pull up the next picture. The next picture is wild.
Bang. I mean, that is...
You can see why Saul Bookman was talking about the lettuce so much, right? That is insane.
Welcome to the AZ Wildcats podcast. This is Lettuce Talk. And yeah, no, this like pantry of just lettuce varieties is crazy. Dare I say rabbit heaven?
I mean, you just did.
Don't let a rabbit loose in the USA team facility. You might not be able to feed the squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's up, Doc? But yeah, there's Saul Bookman getting you the big J journalism, The
big L for lettuce.
Absolutely. The big L. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But yeah, going back to the interview that you did with Saul. And like I said, you can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman for more coverage out there in Colorado Springs. But what was kind of your major takeaway, Kevin?
Yeah, no, in all seriousness, it was the Pete thing. Like the fact that amongst his elite peers, the best of the best within his age group, he stands out as one of the top two, if not the number one most impressive player. And the only guy he's competing with is a guy that people are saying, could he play in the NBA tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So this is the kind of level that Pete is at with AJ DeBansa. And really, it feels like they're in a class of their own there, right? Those two players. It feels like no other player at the camp. And I'm not trying to put a cap on anyone's potential, but I'm saying as players right now today, it feels like Pete stands in a league of him and AJ DeBansa's right now in the Big 12 of incoming freshmen that look to dominate the conference. Very excited for Pete, specifically his physicality as it relates to his skill set. Like I think that is going to be what shows the most next season.
Yeah, he's going to be so physically ready.
Yeah, physically ready and athletically ready too. I know that those are kind of going hand in hand, right? But a lot of times, I think we do see a lot of players who are built for the Big 12 conference. They don't have the NBA ready athleticism. But Pete's built for the Big 12 as a freshman. Good point, Sam Alberts. Darren Peterson at Kansas is up there as well. But when you match Pete's physicality with his skill set in the Big 12 conference, you have an NBA ready player day one. And I'm very excited to see how that talent translates into the Big 12. It should translate, I have no doubts. But you're always excited to see it for the first time because we have some months. The clocks are ticking down here until basketball season tips off. Thank goodness.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to mention or to see how, it plays out from a stylistic standpoint, right? Because the difference in a Trey Townsend to a Pete is so large, right? The difference from a Henry Vasar to a Mo Krivas is so large. So this backcourt is going to take a big, just stylistic change, going in from last year to this next season. And I expect it to work out because that's what Tommy Lloyd is this was his vision, right? This was he's the guy who keeps riding for Mo Krivas, and I think that at the end of the day, we trust Tommy Lloyd in his evaluation of these guys. But it will be weird from just a stylistic standpoint because I felt like the way that we played last year fit so well for the Big 12 in particular. But going into next season, like it's just going to be, now you have that athletic rim running, kind of NBA size power forward, right? Combined with like a 7'2" center, who, has good rim touch and whatnot. So yeah, it's not the same as like Henry Vasar running up and down the floor, rising up for jams and putbacks and whatnot. It's just a different way of going about playing basketball. And I wonder if, I'm not saying Krivas plays below the rim because he is so tall. So he does have the ability to dunk, but he does play more below the rim than I think a Henry Vasar does, right? But do you think that Pete does enough in terms of like, kind of taking that baton from Trey Townsend, that the fall off at the center position won't be as big of a deal because you get that athleticism back at the 4 spot?
I do, and I think that's kind of what Reggie was alluding to with the idea of like you can actually mix and match a lot more potentially with this year's team than you could last year's team if let's say, I know now we're in the land of hypotheticals and make believe, but let's say you did swap Mo Krivas for Henry Vasar last year. Mm-hmm. You just simply we wouldn't have had the horses to run the offense, in my opinion, that Tommy Lloyd wants to run because you don't have that athleticism at the big position with a guy like Trey Townsend. Tobe Awaka's an athlete. And he can get up and down the court at times, but I wouldn't say that by any means Tobe Awaka is a transition basketball player. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily like where he's thriving in his game, but he can do it. But it's not like his biggest strength, right? So I think when you look at this upcoming year's roster, you have a lot of long, strong guys that can play in transition, and that's where they're most comfortable. So I don't think that Mo Krivas is going to actually have to carry that big of a lift in the transition game because I do think you can mix and match when you do want to speed up the game or slow down the game to your liking if you're Tommy Lloyd.
It feels like Mo Krivas is more for the half-court offense in particular,
yes.
Where like, if you are not running in transition or you're having trouble with it, get his back to the basket, let him, kind of go to work in the half-court. Because let's be honest, Arizona's half-court offense was not good last season. As good as they were in transition and as much as they developed over the course of the season, their half court offense didn't look good at times because they didn't have a lot of shooting in particular, right? And I felt like the games where their half court offense did look a little bit better were probably games that like Del Orso was hitting some shots. Maybe Carter was getting a little bit more PT, but mostly, I think that this next team is going to have to find a way to maybe slightly take a step back from a transitional standpoint, but still keep that as a good, solid attribute of this team. Maybe just not make that the go-to, right? Where you have a little bit of more of Braden Burries' shot making, a little bit more of, Mo Krivas back to the basket game. And that kind of thing can maybe just hopefully raise Arizona's ceiling just that much higher where they can play contrasting styles and still beat different teams. Because like a Houston team, for example, they want to play so slow, they limit your transition opportunities. So then, when you're shooting 30% from the field in half-court offense in those games, it's hard to beat a team like that. Whereas, maybe if Arizona had a Mo Krivas where we could throw him on a Roberts, right, who's about a 6'8" center, and have Mo Krivas just back him down and kind of just out-strengthen him because he's got a 6-inch height advantage on a guy like that. So I could see the vision as to why that might be a way in which Tommy might want to, kind of transition this team into being a little bit less dependent on that run and gun type of style.
Totally. And if they can't do it, they're probably going to end up in some overtime games like you and I, Damon, because we're about to go to OT on a Tuesday. Welcome to Overtime. Club going up on a Tuesday. AZ Wildcats podcast going to OT on a Tuesday. Leave a like. Don't forget to drink your water. But yeah, no, I think like within the half court, I think you and I found ourselves a lot of post games last year talking about when the shots aren't falling for Arizona, what do you go to?
Caleb Love, but then the shots weren't really falling for him most of the season too.
Yeah, exactly. And even more so than that, but you are correct. I'm more so talking to like schematically, what do you do? Like if Caleb Love, like you said, if his shot's not falling, if Carter Bryant's not coming off the bench dropping 12 plus points, where is your offense coming from, and how are you going to get to that offense? And we didn't really see that from Arizona, but like we spoke to all last season, they didn't have the right tools. Pardon me. They didn't have the right tools to properly get to that half-court offense that Tommy Lloyd wanted to get to because he had one set up in the preseason and it had to wash all the way because of the Mo Krivas injury, and you had to reset and re-scheme and adjust. So very excited to see how Tommy Lloyd approaches the early portion of next year schematically, especially when you talk about the teams they're going to have to face and overcome. This is not going to be a situation where you have, like we've talked about, like Reggie alluded to, where you have, what do you call them, cream puffs, where you have like 5 cream puffs to start your season and you're just munching. This is going to be like some Team USA rabbit food that you're going to have to get through.
We're going to find out what this team is about pretty early on, right?
Yes.
It's similar to last season where it's just like, you get a lot thrown at you early on, and it'll be interesting to watch just kind of how it plays out. But regarding, we'll move on here. Quick update with Arizona baseball. Kevin Vance, unfortunately, moves on. He will be, I know Arizona fans were somewhat kind of waiting for this, hoping it didn't happen. He will be the new head coach of the San Diego State baseball program, which is actually, one of the better programs in the West Coast. It's a great job, great gig to get, and very well deserved from a coach that put together a really solid pitching staff, especially at the college level, because it's hard to maintain a good rotation, a good bullpen at the college level, given how prominent offenses are with the metal bats and whatnot. But Vance did a very admirable job, becomes the 7th head coach in program history at SDSU. And Arizona, this is via Kendall Rogers, who's, maybe the top, college baseball journalist. He works co-founder of D1 Baseball, reported that with Kevin Vance heading to San Diego State as the head coach, Arizona baseball is expected to promote John Deroun to pitching coach. I hope I didn't screw that up, but it's Derouin. Derouin?
Wait, what was it one more time? Spell it.
Derouin. 3 vowels in a row at one point, which makes it tough.
Derouin.
But it's like there's like an owen.
Yeah,
you're
right.
I mean?
No, you're right.
Derouin.
It's like Jonathan Drouin, like in the NHL. Like when he was coming up, I was always like, his name is, well, it's spelled like Bruin.
Totally know that
Well, it's spelled like Bruin. It's like Druin, I
Mhm.
think. You know what I mean? But it's like it has like a French flair to it. So you're supposed to say like Drouin, but it's like that's Jonathan Drouin to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
either way, this is back to the Kevin Vance thing. It's a huge loss, right?
It is, but this guy, just to provide a little solace for Arizona fans.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was Arizona's director of pitching performance / strategy for the last 2 seasons and is supposedly quote unquote highly well regarded. So it seems like he was a big piece of this pitching group that they've had these last couple seasons under Kevin Vance. So hopefully, he just kind of takes that baton and runs with it, given the promotion, and it's not as big of and detrimental as a loss as maybe you could talk yourself into when the first reports came out. But we mentioned it yesterday. Arizona has a lot of pitchers that you expect back next season. Losing your pitching coach can absolutely change that, right? And you could see a world where maybe 1 or 2 of them follow Kevin Vance to San Diego State. But I do think that this goes a long way in terms of trying to keep everybody in the building because, you get, it's a guy that they're familiar with, a guy that they have a previous relationship with. And, I think under Chip Hale, this team has proven that they like a lot of these players. They want to stick around. You haven't seen a lot of transfers out under Chip Hale. And I feel like that speaks to the connectiveness of this program. And so, as of right now, I'm kind of expecting a lot of these pitchers to stay. I could be totally wrong on that. I'm not speaking from a place of knowledge, but it just speculation. But I definitely, it feels like that this could be a big move in terms of getting guys like Owen Kramkowski, guys like Smith Bailey, guys like Tony Pluta to stick it out for an extra season in Tucson.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the main worry I would have would be Smith Bailey. I think like Kevin Vance was the main name he continuously brought up in the post game stuff and throughout not only Omaha but just the end of the season in general.
Yeah.
He was a big guy that was crediting Vance with a lot of his development as a freshman and becoming one of the better. I mean, honestly, he was before the no hitter. I think you could argue Smith Bailey was one of the biggest pitching. Not stars, but you know what I'm saying? Like one of the biggest pitching standouts from Omaha in general, right? So this is it's become a big time name. I feel like if you're Smith Bailey, that's how you must feel. So I worry a little bit about him. I worry less about Kramkowski. I might look foolish. Maybe we're here on a Frosted Takes later in the summer talking about it, but I don't worry about Tony Pluta leaving Arizona. I think that's a guy that feels like a Wildcat for life. It feels like Tony Pluta is the type of cat to, after the way this past season ended, want to right that ship at Arizona, not somewhere else. And so I feel like I'm not really worried about Pluta. If I had to rank like most worried, middle worried, least worried, it would be most worried Smith Bailey, mid worried Kramkowski, because I don't have like a lean there, and then least worried by far Tony Pluta. But I do think the loss of Kevin Vance is big. SDSU is pretty picky when it comes to their coaches. They've only had seven now that they've hired Kevin Vance in their 90-year history. This is not a team that's just flying through guys. They meticulously pick guys they think can run their program at SDSU. So I think losing Kevin Vance, while yes, I think you're right to give the silver lining, Damon, of it's not all is lost. You're going to get a talented coach to come to Arizona and coach the pitching staff here. And you know what I mean? And I guess fill the guy who's been promoted spot, because you're not filling the coaching spot. But you get my point. It's not all is lost. However, I do think the loss of Kevin Vance from this staff is very significant for a team that's trying to have as much continuity as possible and then add to that to make another run to Omaha next year and maybe repeat some magic like they did in 1985-86, where you go 0-2 in 85, come back in 86 and win the whole damn thing. So yeah, that was tough news to see before the show today. But like you said, not all is lost, even though it is a huge departure.
Absolutely. One little other quick note before we get on to maybe a little bit of basketball recruiting. Oscar Rios, 4-star quarterback, announces his top 2 today. It is between Arizona and UCLA. As his final 2 schools. He will be committing on June 27th. So, we'll make sure that you're updated regarding Oscar Rios's, commitment that he'll be doing here in the near future. But I'll be honest, I feel pretty good about this one, Kevin. I trust Seth Dagey. I know I've said that a million times on this show, but I really, really, truly do trust. I'd give that guy my bank account,
Wow.
I'd give him my routing number.
See, I feel that way about Tommy Lloyd. I mean, I guess I feel that way about Seth Daggy. See, I don't want to go the other
No, but
way
you
and be
can't
like,
you can't guess,
I don't
though.
trust. You know what I mean? I
No,
don't.
no, sure, but you can't guess that you'd be comfortable with that.
But that's what I'm saying.
Because
Like,
I am comfortable with that. I'll call him after this and say, you know, Wells
Coach,
Fargo.
this is my mother's maiden name. The street I grew up on. My first pet was Squibbles. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whatever. Yeah, no,
The
yeah.
CVV is. But yeah, I mean, I just think that, you know, I think that this guy is just such a good recruiter, honestly. And I just really believe that the direction that he has this program, or at least this offense going in, like, that's a guy who can relate to kids like that. Like, you know what I mean? He's so young. He's one of the youngest coordinators, one of the youngest coaches in all of college football. Yeah, I feel that obviously Arizona, you know, I think there was he ended up leaving actually after Nico Iamaleava committed to UCLA, but Robert McDaniel was Arizona's QB commit for the last class. And he was like borderline high 3-star, low 4-star type of guy. Oscar Rios is a little bit higher of a ranking in his own respective class, but Arizona ends up losing that QB battle to UCLA. That was before Seth Daggy, though, to be fair. And that was before, you know, an offensive coordinator was really in place. Like, I'm sure that Daggy tried to keep him in the fold, but they don't have a predetermined relationship, right? He's, you know, coaching at Marshall in West Virginia. Like, he's not recruiting an Elite 11 California quarterback. And now with Oscar Rios, you know, he gets to, you know, have a little bit more of an established relationship for the 6'3", 175-pound, you know, 4-star top 150 recruit in the state of California, out of Downey, California. So he most recently visited Arizona. That was his June 13th visit. I think that him announcing that he's, you know, where his commitment is going to be happening after 4 days after he takes his visit to Arizona on the weekend is somewhat telling. And I do believe that, you know, we're looking at potentially the quarterback of the future for this program if Brent Brennan and co stick around. And, you know, the future of this, you know, I guess just the who the keys are going to be handed to once Noah Fafita is ultimately, you know, done at Arizona.
Yeah, and, you know, just for even more context on Oscar Rios, scouts, looking at an article from Brian Peterson in AZ Desert Swarm, where he quoted 24/7 Sports' Brandon Huffman as saying that, you know, Rios has a whip for an arm and is one of the quickest releases in the nation and the region, and is a true dual threat who can take off and pick up chunks of yards or extend a play and use his arm to make a big throw down the field. And to back this up, I did find his stats from last season where he played at Downey High School, I believe in Downey, California, or no, actually Los Angeles, California. He threw for 2,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, almost 800 rushing yards, and 11 scores, even a receiving touchdown thrown in there.
Philly special. Nick
Indeed.
Foles, the next Nick Foles.
Indeed. For his career, in the article, it says for his career, he's responsible for 76 touchdowns, Damon. So, yeah, an exciting prospect. And I think, you know, I mean, I like you said, I trust Seth Daggy's eye when it comes to quarterbacks because just his level of intensity, he knows exactly what he wants out of a quarterback prospect. So you have to believe that if Arizona, from this point forward, is in on a quarterback recruit, that there is at least something to that player, even if, you know, they might not look as you know, eye popping on paper. You know what I mean?
According to 24/7, in his class, in this 2026 class, he is the 10th rated quarterback. Does that float anybody's boat?
It does. I mean, it's doing something for me. That moves mountains for me. Top 10.
I mean, listen, man, you love to hear that with a program like Arizona. Like, that's a big time recruit, and you know, that would be no small feat. Greg Biggins, who's the lead West Coast guy for 247, calls him one of the fastest rising quarterbacks in the country. Said that he, you know, again agreed with Huffman's assessment that he's one of the true dual threat QBs in this class. But spoke one of the negative sides of Rios, did speak to his frame a little bit. He's extremely skinny. He's really skinny. That's kind of what's interesting is it's like he's so different than Noah Fafita in that way. Like, Fafita is so stocky, right? Because
he's short
obviously
and stocky.
His frame is shorter, but so it's easier to like load that weight on a little bit more, but also he's just naturally kind of a broader, bigger dude, right? Whereas Oscar Rios is very thin, He's definitely taller than Noah, but he definitely needs to add some meat onto that frame. But I just think that this is a big time move for this program. If you can have a decent year this year, say you find a way to make a bowl game, right? You can convince yourself that this program is moving in the right direction, getting their players in place, and then bringing in a quarterback like Oscar Rios to ultimately take the baton from Noah Fafita. Like, that's not a bad place to be as a program. Is the ceiling maybe that extremely high with a program like Arizona in that circumstance? Maybe not. Like, is it like, are we looking at with Brent Brennan, like similar to what he had at I'm saying the bright side of Brent Brennan, say like that it ends up working out. Is it going to kind of be like what it was at San Jose State, which is, 7-win seasons, 6-win seasons, and then every once in a while you have a good year? Probably, but that's not a bad place for a program like Arizona to be in. I think there's a lot of fans that long for the days of Rich Rodriguez where you're making the Advocare V100 Bowl, going to Shreveport, Louisiana to play Boston College, where it means everything to get your 8th win of the season, But yeah, it's just I just think that it goes to show that Seth Doege is doing what he can to kind of improve upon this program and just get it on the right track, Kevin.
Yeah, 1,000%. And what is the best way to draw top recruits to your team? It's to have a quarterback they want to play with, or be a part of a team where that quarterback is running the show. So if you can locate your top 10 quarterback in that class, and if that player actually pans out to be everything you think that they are, you do have a big recruiting chip going forward for top wide receivers, running backs, O-linemen.
It all starts with a quarterback. We saw it with Noah. We saw it with Noah. 1,000%. If we didn't get Noah Fafita, we don't get Tedero McMillan. We don't get Jacob Manu. We don't get all these dudes who ended up coming to Arizona to play with Noah in particular and to be around the culture that Arizona was putting into place. You need guys, quarterbacks in particular, to kind of be the lead recruiters of your class, because they're the leaders of the team, and players want to go play for quarterbacks that they believe in, because that's how they believe in the squad as a whole. And you're 100% right on that. Like, it starts with getting a good quarterback in place, and then the receivers, the pass catchers, all of that flows down the line.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And
when looking at these quarterbacks here, Kevin, and you're looking at like the top quarterbacks here out, like just looking at like the top 20-ish, these are the programs that we're talking about that are competing for these recruits. So number 1 quarterback he's committed to Tennessee. This is the only odd one. And I've known about this guy for a while. Number 2 quarterback, Keyshawn Henderson. He's going to Houston. That one's a little bit weird. He's a 5-star. He's the number 3 quarterback.
Where's he from?
Number 3 player in his class. He's from Texas.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like, that's obviously a little bit of an odd one. Clearly they have Willie Fritz is supposed to be a pretty good coach. They clearly have a big opening at quarterback. He's probably going to come in and be the starter from the jump, right? I get that, whatever. But past that, you're looking at Georgia. You're looking at 100% crystal ball to USC. You're looking at Texas, Ole Miss, South Carolina, LSU. You have ASU's quarterback commit Jake Fetty in there. Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M. These are the schools that are competing for top 20 quarterbacks in their class. So getting a guy who's in the top 10 is no slouch. That is a massive, massive move for this program.
Additionally, to your point, Damon, what is the first thing Seth Doege, and this is rhetorical, I'm not actually putting you on the spot, but what's the first thing Seth Doege told us about Noah Fafita that stood out the most to him? He said, this is a top 5 quarterback in the country talent-wise if he wasn't, the height that he is. If he was 4 whatever inches taller than he is now, he's in the NFL draft probably last year. You know what I mean? And when I think of Oscar Rios, and it's totally different in that way, but I think his slender build is probably a reason why he's a little bit, rated where he is in comparison to some of the other peers in that list that you noted, and probably why Arizona can get in on him, because they're more concerned with guys that are more ready to play in the SEC day one, more ready to play for USC day one. You know what I mean?
A thin frame? Jaden Daniels. Pretty good quarterback.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Pretty good quarterback. But yeah, so I think,
Fafita was like a kind of a low tier 3-star, Sam. I will find you exactly where his rating was. But he wasn't super highly regarded, mostly due to his height reasons.
Yeah, and I feel like with
Oscar Rios is rated a 91, number 146 nationally recruit, number 10 quarterback, and Noah Fafita by 247 was rated an 87, so 91 to 87. the number 40 quarterback in his class. So
Yeah.
looking at a difference of 30 spots there.
And, my point with all this is I feel like I know it's just year one. I know we haven't seen the offense on the field for not even half second. But you have to trust Seth Daigie's eye when it comes to quarterback talent. And I think what gives Arizona the edge and what makes me believe that the offense will, from a recruit standpoint, turn back around and you'll start getting more top-end guys is because I think Seth Daigie's already shown he knows what the top-end quarterbacks look like talent-wise, and he's willing to go out and find the under-recruited guys or the guys that just need to put on size or the guys that just need to figure out how to utilize their small frame within an offense, right? So I trust Seth Daigie to go get the guy at the end of the top 10 that's not being looked at by these top programs because of whatever odd, superficial reason you want to say, and then turn that around into something that can be productive for an offense. So if Oscar Rios is that guy, more power to him. But I do trust that Seth Daigie will close that commitment, like you said earlier.
Well, that's going to do it for our football talk. And before we get out of here, Kevin, we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on this. Joe Tipton reported that Toni Bryant, a 5-star recruit in the 2026 class, he's the number 10 overall recruit according to 247 Sports, 5-star, will be visiting Arizona here in the coming weeks, Kevin. And Toni Bryant, as well as Arizona, will also be visiting Michigan, Missouri, Florida State, UNC, and NC State. What do you make of this move, and how do you feel about Arizona's chances, I guess?
I mean, if you go look at his 24/7 page, it hasn't been updated after this Joe Tipton report, so you don't have any visits scheduled on that 24/7 page, but you can still get a good idea of what, teams are interested in him and where he is at level-wise. Honestly, I feel like if Tommy Lloyd thinks this is a guy that can play at Arizona and be productive for him as a coach, I have full faith that amongst the teams that they're competing with, they can close that recruitment as well. Mostly because, you have a team like Michigan who's still trying to refine their form. You're trying to reset in a new era under a new coach.
Outside of a money thing, because a lot of these schools are football schools that have, like Michigan, Florida State, those schools have more money. Both the North Carolina schools have more money. So yeah.
Yeah, and I do believe though that Tommy Lloyd could go out and get Toni Bryant over some of these teams. Like you said, yes, UNC has a ton of money, and NC State could probably offer like a star role if he is that kind of a player, right? So yeah, but overall, this is kind of more so what I wanted to talk about with Toni Bryant. It continues to show that Arizona it has been and will continue to be a 5-star factory as long as Tommy Lloyd is coaching. And we talked about on our last show how the class of 2025 in relation to the elite high school talent that Tommy Lloyd's pulling in is an indicator of the classes going forward for the next couple of years. And so it's very exciting and encouraging to see that already you have some of the top players in the country being linked with Arizona, and it's not this waiting game of, are they in on some guys? Are they going to go get, this, like, you know what I mean? Because it's not like you have the talent pool in Arizona is huge for next year's class, right? Yeah. But you don't have like the guy in Coapete where it's like that guy has to be an Arizona Wildcat, and if he's not an Arizona Wildcat, I'm going to be apoplectic. You have a lot of talent, and maybe I haven't really truly discovered that guy like a Coapete yet, but I feel like you don't just make Coapetes in a factory.
He's nowhere near the same position, and he's not even from the state of Arizona, but I kind of do feel that way about Brandon McCoy.
I do, but
especially with Jaden Bradley leaving next year.
I do.
I want to hand the keys of the program to Brandon McCoy.
I do too. But yeah, and if we were talking about stuff outside of Arizona, I would have brought his name up. But yeah, to my point, it's encouraging that Arizona's in on guys early, like a Brandon McCoy, right? You know, like an Ikenna Alozie, like a Toni Bryant, maybe following in the Carter Bryant footsteps. Who knows? Overall, this is just something to keep track of, but I think in overall tracking the health of the program, it shows that Arizona, even though they are at the top of the country in terms of programs that players want to play for, is only ticking upwards in quality of recruits.
Yeah, absolutely. It says that he's also eyeing 2 more blue blood visits. This recruiting process is clearly in no way close to being over. It's very
practically
early
just
on
opened,
in the process,
really.
But yeah, absolutely. But I would say that the encouraging sign is that Tommy doesn't put energy and resources into guys that he doesn't feel he has a legitimate shot at bringing in. And so I think typically I would be like, you know what? I don't feel great about this recruitment considering he's trying to visit 8 places, and the odds are just not in your favor when that's the case, right? Like there's 7 other schools. Like it's more likely he's going to choose the field. But I just think that Tommy doesn't waste his time. And so that for me means that, a guy like Toni Bryant is absolutely within the cards of being an Arizona player. And I mean, he's clearly a unreal talent if he's, number 10 recruit in the country, top 15 guy in the composite, and being recruited by schools like this. But 6'9", 215 power forward out of Florida in the 2026 class. We will keep you updated in terms of what's going on with all of that. But just in terms of what's going on here at PHNX with Spirit Week, we're doing a really cool thing. We're trying to help Big Brothers Big Sisters of America raise $10,000. We find that goal is extremely reasonable, and that we will get there. But we're trying to crush it. So please donate whatever you can. If you're here in the chat, and you can just even donate $1, $2, $5.
Not a super chat though.
No, not a super chat. It is going to be in the link. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll be right below or right to the side, I think, of this stream. It should be right there in front of your face. Just do whatever you can. It helps out. It's a great cause. And if you can spare a couple dollars, all of that money goes to Big Brothers Big Sisters. None of it goes to us. So, it would be great if you could do that. Just click on the show in the chat on any show, or donate at bbbs.org/ALLCITY. No in there. There's no in that URL.
And also, Damon, before we move off the topic of Spirit Week, I feel like, we should probably ask the people this. Maybe you're not vibing with this, but this is also, reminding people what the schedule looks like. Yesterday was T-shirt day. Today is Mystery Guest Day, and thank you, Reggie Geary, again, for popping on for 20 minutes with us and talking some Arizona Wildcats basketball. But tomorrow, Damon, you see it, Musical Chairs Day. And for the people at home, Musical Chairs Day, as it's been explained to us, is where hosts from each podcast will kind of play some musical chairs. We'll flip-flop around.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, I guess, pose the question to the people, but also a little bit of an open brainstorming session with you, Damon.
Mm-hmm.
Who should we grab for tomorrow's show to swap with either you or me? Am I going to be on the show tomorrow? Are you? Yeah, like who?
Well, I think
am I showing up to work? What's happening?
The way that it was presented, you're not getting out of that, buddy. Especially after last week, we're keeping you locked here.
Short leash.
But yeah, I think that yeah. Let us know in the comments what PHNX personality would you guys like to see here on the good old AZ Wildcats show? Should we be debating a little Jake Fetty versus Oscar Rios? Is that what we're doing tomorrow? I'm ready to go to war
have
for
Totri
my
on
guy.
with you. Have Totri on with you. I'll just go hang out with Eric Ruby and talk. Yeah, that actually might be it. Maybe you and Totri.
It's the love hour on PHNX Sun Devils.
No,
as
I'm just
Ruby
saying.
and
Maybe
Kevin
me
just
and
hang
Eric
out
would. Me and Eric would go back and forth about basketball. You and Totri can go back and forth about football, and then we can just do that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get that, and I understand that that's a little bit more our vibes. Like, I get that I maybe lean a little bit more towards football side of things, and you're definitely more of a basketball guy. Eric is notoriously more of a basketball guy, and Totri is notoriously more of a football guy. But I really feel like I'm getting the short end of the stick on. I mean, so is Ruby to an extent, but he is clearly like a big basketball guy, so that's interesting for him. I'm like kind of in the middle. Like I like both pretty equally. I just love ball, and I love my Cats. But you're pinning me up against the Big 12 favorites and having me just go to war for a team that is projected to win 4.5 games.
But if there's a guy that's going to go to war,
absolutely,
it's Damon Fairall.
I'll do it. I'll do it because I love my Cats so much. But
we'll
I'm
figure it out. There's still some kinks to iron out.
We're going in. It's like a 300 situation where it's like, look over there, man.
Jon Snow.
The Persians have 20,000 men, and here I am. I'm Leonidas with my 299 behind me, and I'm saying, gentlemen, we're holding the line here. Everything you got. So yeah, that'll happen tomorrow. Spirit Week continues here at PHNX Sports and at ALLCITY Network, but please donate to Big Brothers Big Sisters. We appreciate everybody for stopping in, talking some Arizona basketball recruiting, Arizona football recruiting, U19 USA trials, what's going on with Koa Pete and Tommy Lloyd out there, as well as thank you to our special mystery guest, Reggie Geary, the king guest of this program. And we will look to continue to let him have his crown, Kevin. But appreciate everybody for watching today. You can follow my guy Kevin at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. Follow us at PHNX_Wildcats, where we'll keep you posted with all your Arizona news and notes throughout the week. Retweeting Oscar Rios stuff, retweeting Kevin Vance stuff. You know it's the hub. We're getting in on it like within minutes, Kevin. It's like, oh, Kendall Rogers retweeted or tweeted some information about who the new pitching coach is going to be. Oh, that's right. 3 minutes in, retweeted. You'll see it on your timeline. So make sure you follow PHNX_Wildcats for all your updates on Arizona athletics. But we will be back on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Eat your lettuce.
We all silly like the mayor.